I would say, at least in the US, people talk as though retail is dead, it's over, it's all online. You know, I think that now, like never before, there's an opportunity to invest and to really innovate around the experience and to be able to deliver brands be able to deliver an experience with customers and consumers that can really rejuvenate the world of retail. But I'm going to talk to you a little about as we work with companies, how that becomes a reality. And so what I'm going to do is talk a little about just a slide on Innogest, what we do as a venture fund, talk a little bit, maybe somewhat repetitive of what you just saw, but talk about the Internet of Things, how it relates to fashion, and I guess the discussion is at the very end. So I'm going to try to do this in around 15 minutes or less. So Innogest is a very established venture firm in Italy, 10 years old. We're in our second fund, towards the end of our second fund. So we've invested in some 40 companies, would you say, or so. $200 million of capital under management. You can see some of the companies that we've built and invested in. And why I say that is because it's very interesting. What you just saw is we see companies, in fact, I would say, you know, there was probably a couple, you know, in the last, since I've been here in Italy, you know, for a week, less than a week, we've seen some of these ideas and companies come forward with pieces of the solution for how to make what you saw become a reality. And so that's what we spend a lot of time on, working with entrepreneurs, working with young companies to be able to deliver the experiences that you just saw. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our fund is healthcare and it's digital. When we talk about digital, when we did our second fund, we said we're going to focus on these areas because we believe that all the technology innovations that are underway can be applied to these vertical segments to be able to really transform these businesses. So we look for companies that in the fashion and lifestyle, food and retail, fintech and travel, you know, all bring some of these innovations and solutions. And we often call them marketplaces for how we bring buyers and sellers together in a more efficient, more effective, better experience, more profitable way. And so those are these are examples of the industries that we spend time with companies looking at how to build innovation in all these areas. Now these areas are maybe no surprise because we're in Italy and we're focused on Italian companies and Italian innovation. And so we work to pick areas that represent the strength of many of the corporate and industrial companies that exist in Italy. So that's why we've been focused there. Now, as we move forward, we're altering our focus a bit. First of all, we will invest again in this notion of digital marketplaces that are in these large vertical markets where we can bring buyers and sellers together in a disruptive way. A fundamentally better, more efficient experience than what they've had in traditional ways. And we will continue to focus on these verticals where Italy has a competitive advantage. In over the years, we've learned a lot about also the business models that make these innovations work. And so we want to repeat and bring to our entrepreneurs some of the experiences and knowledge we have around business models in digital marketplaces, how to build the right unit economics, and how to not only make a really cool business, but how to make a business that's valuable and profitable. Now, what we're adding to that is become deeper in the areas of technology, because what we've learned over the years is that we've seen companies in these areas in digital marketplaces that we find that they're not fully taking advantage or capitalizing on some of the big technology innovations that are underway. So we believe as we move forward, not only do we need to continue to focus on digital marketplaces, but we need to embrace some of these disruptive technologies, some of which you just saw there today, you saw in this presentation, to be able to help companies be able to build the complete solution and gain competitive advantage over time. Today we're going to focus on fashion and IoT and wearables, but think about that on this side of the chart, when we talk about marketplaces, we're talking about vertical industries, fashion, food, etc. And when we talk to the right side, we're talking about technologies that are more horizontal. And the perfect case for us is to be able to merge, to bring the horizontal technical solution with the vertical market, and to be able to create this intersection that builds a great business with the right economics, with right growth, and then ultimately that's what pays off. It's a very difficult, very long process, but we like to partner with our, with the entrepreneurs that we invest in to be able to make that happen and bring our experience, to bring our relationships, our contacts, etc., together to be able to make that happen. Okay, so on the Internet of Things, I think, I hear just some numbers. It's really undeniable that IoT is going to be a big force in the market. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done to achieve that. But if you just look at some of the numbers here, how large the market will become by some industries, and some of these use cases and business models are very clear. Utilities, the ability to have sensors in meters and be able to read those remotely instead of sending out people to read meters. I mean, we can think of many, many very simple use cases, and some that become a lot more interesting, as we saw in some of these examples. A lot of them are industrial. There's in fact a lot of IoT innovation around technology in Italy. I've met with many people who are building core technology in the area of IoT. So quite a large number that will grow to a very, very large industry. It's also helpful to think about it around use cases. And use cases is a phrase that's used often in our industry, and you can see those that are nearer to us and those that will become different relative to size. But there's quite a few ways of thinking about how IoT technology will impact different industries. I'm just looking at some of them. I've met companies, for example, in fleet management, fuel trucks that have built a piece of hardware with some sensors on a fuel truck and can remotely see every fuel truck in Italy, can look at the performance of the driver, can look at safety considerations, can look at theft of the fuel. All of these things that are all made possible today with some of the solutions that exist in IoT. So this will develop and grow, but it's helpful to think about how use cases work. Now this is a bit of a complex slide, but it makes an important point. When we see companies, we see kind of a mixture of two directions. One is, we will see, if you look at these layers of the solution, we will see companies who come in with a layer or two of the solution. It may be, for example, in sensors, or I'm involved with a company in US that's a competitor to the Aruba, what you just saw, that does LTE networking. It's basically the view that all of these IoT devices have to be networked, and they're all going to use an LTE wireless network. And so, building that infrastructure is a major investment on its own. In this case, hundreds of millions of dollars invested to be able to build the products and deliver those across the industry. There will be applications, there'll be analytics, there'll be a variety of elements. And so the important point is that it's going to take both people innovating at the component level or at the layer, and it's going to take another group of companies, and maybe the same in some cases, that will innovate from end to end and deliver a complete solution from bringing the components together and ultimately creating a user experience and the analytics around it for customers to be able to gain value. So if you're in the fashion industry and you think about how to relate to all of this, you know, it's mostly about how do you embrace these various components and work with the right company to be able to put them all together. So I believe that there'll be a whole series of companies developed that will be integrators that will work with people to bring all the pieces together of the technology, the solution, fill in the gaps where necessary, but be able to build an end-to-end solution. Because as I've seen in the past in my experience when these types of phenomena occur, that the initial approach is to kind of put a lot of pieces together, and then the end customer value is insignificant or is not fully impactful, and the first implementations tend to not work well or fail. And so I think that's the challenge in IoT, because IoT is very complicated, lots of layers, vertical, horizontal, and there'll need to be companies that can come forward and help build that end-to-end experience for a specific vertical or for even a specific customer. But in spite of the challenges of bringing that together, there's growth. And you can just see the number, the billions of devices and things that are going to be connected together to be able to create some of these use cases we discussed. Venture capital, you can see, kind of started out slowly, but in the last few years has ramped up quite a bit to invest in building the layers and invest in building the vertical solutions. And we'll see more and more of that. I think we're not at the peak yet in terms of IoT investment in venture. So now let me quickly, so that background, I hope that makes sense. I mean, it's an exciting area. It's going to happen. A lot of things are going to be connected. They're all going to be networked together, and it's going to provide the opportunity, but not the assurance, the opportunity that you can create some really great end-to-end experiences that solve problems and create better user experiences. But it's going to take people who know the industry, people in fashion and places who really understand the kind of value that needs to be delivered. This just showed you how many companies are thinking about this. These are just in the areas of the store in terms of things like beacons and analytics and being able to measure and provide value towards the experience within a store. And you can see it's a very crowded area, which again puts pressure on the customer who wants to build this experience to be able to navigate through all of this. And that's why I believe there will be companies that are going to bring these pieces together, partnerships that are going to take place, that it's going to, for example, bring the movement of people information along with the payment history or the payment experience, and be able to integrate all this and be able to give real insight and real information to people who need to make decisions and need to run their store and their brands more effectively. So I this weekend was thinking about some of the challenges, and so I thought I would mention a few of these that I think we can discuss. One is I just mentioned is the components and the layers and versus the integration, because often what happens is there's a lot of layers and components built, but they're not integrated well, and so people need to emerge in industries who can bring that integration together. But I think that's one of the challenges that exists. Building and delivering the end-to-end experience, very easy to use, very easy to implement solutions that are able to create the kind of really business value experiences, not just cool stuff, but things that really improve the business value of the investment. The third one is really important. In some of the anecdotal things I've seen so far, on value, there's sometimes a lot of question. Is this information that I'm getting really going to make a difference? And so I've been involved in companies where we've developed an IoT-like solution with a dashboard of data, and frankly, people initially don't find it very valuable, shocking as that might be. And so it's also, again, it's very important that we focus on the value of the experience, and that it really does help consumers, it does help brands, it does help retailers improve their performance and improve their operation. Confidence is another example. Meaning, I've heard a lot of people who get data, they go, this data is just not right. I go, what do you mean it's not right? But you have, there has to be confidence, because once you start relying on sensors and other information to be able to be the source that ultimately provides you insight, you have to gain confidence. You have to validate it and be able to make sure that that it's that when people are doing automatic checkout of things, that it's the numbers are right. Or I don't know how many people even with wearables say these numbers aren't right. So a lot of work to do to improve that and be able to build confidence. And the other one, the afterthought that people usually have, is the presentation of the information and the data. People do all this work to build all this infrastructure, right? And then they don't present it in a way that's usable for the consumer or for the user. And so those are all areas that are going to have to be addressed. Security and privacy, a lot of this involves people walking in the store and in a sense giving up their privacy in the store. I want you to know about my browsing habits. I want you to know about my payment information. I want you to know where I'm going to be in the store, what I like. It's going to take time for people to go from saying, this is an invasion of my privacy, to where this is really a benefit for me, for someone to know this. And so that, as well as security, because the whole security paradigm in this world is also different. And will take, again, more innovation and more technology. And then the final part is the business model. And now, many of the topics we talked about today are not as maybe sensitive to this, because you're in a way talking about how to use this technology to improve an experience, etc. But in a lot of cases, people are moving to sharing information, to be able to sell a piece of equipment with sensors on it and be able to have this data. And there has to be a business model. And in one company I'm involved with, we were on this vision that we were going to sell a piece of equipment, a piece of hardware, and then we're going to sell a subscription, but to the data and to all of this great insight. But there's the case where people are going, well, I'm not sure I want to buy a subscription. And we're finding the industry starting to shift now. We're saying, okay, we're going to sell you this, and we're going to sell you a subscription, or we're going to provide you access and a subscription included. It's going to be bundled, and then we'll renew you'll love it so much that you'll continue to buy it. But all of these models are being tested. I mean, it's just not clear, what the business model is when you sell this infrastructure, and you also are delivering insight, data, information, and a customer experience later on. So all of this is just exciting. I mean, I think we just went through all this. I don't want to be repetitive. I would just summarize by saying that it is very exciting. I mean, I've been through a lot of technology waves in my career. Some of them come, some of them go, some of them stay, some of them are profound. I believe this is profound. I believe that executed well, this can change businesses, this can improve retail, this can make brands be more responsive, be closer to consumers, all of these things. And it's just work that we're all going to have to do to both put it in customer environments, and we have to find the companies to invest in to be able to move the innovation along quickly so that the benefits can be achieved.